You have Jay Sapiro and Chris Micklos, co-directors of The Nursery, a feature film coming out in June from Uncorked Entertainment, and you're watching the 13th Wolfman.
Hey everybody, it's the 13th Wolfman, and you know who I have with me today? I have Micklos.
Micklos, yep.
Micklos. And Jay Sapiro. Not Shapiro.
Sapiro. I thought for a minute you're going to put our names together. That'd be kind of perfect. You could put together Micklos and Sapiro. That'd be great.
They've got a new movie out called The Nursery. They've been business partners for 20 years, making videos and ads and whatnot. And this is their first feature film. And I just want to thank you for coming on and welcome you to Sit Down, guys.
Hey, thanks very much. We're really happy to be here. We're really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, I checked the movie out, like I said, and this is a love letter to, because you can see that Chris is in Chris's background. He's a horror fan. Jay, I see Barstool, so he's a Budweiser.
I like to drink, yeah. I drink a lot. It's a perfect marriage.
No, just kidding, man. Are you a horror fan?
I am not. I don't think anyone is as much of a horror fan as Chris is. I'm a fan. I explore all genres, but and Chris does too. But Chris is quite the expert when it comes to horror films. So none of us. We have a third partner, Glenn Chung. And we both say, if we have trivia, the three of us ride in the car together all the time, we hang out together all the time. If there's any kind of trivia with horror or anything with horror, pretty much movies, Chris wins. So,
yeah, the guys on the live show give me a lot of grief because they keep on referring to me as the human encyclopedia. When it comes, not just horror, but like all movie. I'm with Chris on that. Like, I love horror. Horror's my first love when it comes to genre, but when it comes to movies, I love them all, like the classics from the 40s and the 50s, and everything.
No. Then I'll be quiet, and you guys can go toe to toe on all this because I will. I'm not going to be able to. I won't keep up.
So where did the idea for The Nursery come from?
Well, we, like you mentioned, Jay and Glenn and I have been in business for about 20 years together, and all the while we were talking about, let's make a movie. We should make a movie. We all love movies. And, time goes on and there's always a distraction or there's always something else. And so finally, about 2 years ago, we sat down and we just said, you know what, this is ridiculous. We're all, getting on in years a little bit. Let's, if we're not going to do it now, when are we going to do it? And so we sat down and we started to hammer out ideas. We had several brainstorming sessions. I have a young daughter who at the time was about 2 years old. And she, we had this nursery set up upstairs for her, and we'd watch her at night with a baby monitor, in her crib. And it's like this infrared thing, right out of Paranormal Activity. So, she'd look at the camera and her eyes would be glowing. And sometimes the image would freeze and you'd see my wife, this image on the monitor, even though she was sitting next to me. And so there was all this like freaky stuff that would happen. And it was really inspiring. And so we kind of started talking about that stuff. And we said, there's something interesting about this. There's something very primal about setting a horror film around a nursery. You've got that vulnerability of the baby. You've got, this juxtaposition of maybe something evil with something totally pure, and it just seemed like a natural. And so the three of us hammered out a story and we took it from there.
Yeah, I remember sitting in Chris's kitchen. We were looking at that monitor, and my daughter is a little older, so but we had audio monitors at that point. Could have done something fun with that. But yeah, the whole idea that something creepy could go on in there, that was kind of the genesis of it. We pitched each other ideas. We joke around that at one point I was trying to pitch Glenn and Chris an idea, and it was right around the time with Vine Video. And I was like, oh, we should do something on this Vine Video because that's the way of the future. Well,
got that one wrong.
Yeah, I got that one wrong. But yet this idea with the Nursery and with monitors and trying to make a 1980s style, horror film that doesn't try to be too much. It just tries to be fun, a fun horror flick. That's what we were after, and I hope we accomplished it.
I love creepy kid films, man. That's the thing. It's like if you can get it right, if you can get because there's been a lot of good ones. I mentioned The Omen earlier, but like The Bad Seed from the 1950s. Yeah. There's nothing more evil than that little blonde girl. You know, our Pet Sematary, but once you get Bloody Birthday.
Oh, Pet Sematary you mentioned, which is great. When the little kid with the knife at the guys, that's just about as horrifying as images you're going to get. I think about like It's Alive, that horrible, It's Alive, but it's just so primally frightening. Kids in horror have been a thing forever. And it's, I was kind of getting at it earlier. You have this juxtaposition of this, like, okay, they're kids, they're young, they're sweet. So either you put them in danger and juxtapose them with this like evil or corrupt thing, or maybe there's a seed of that inside of them. And that's just, that's totally fertile for horror. It's just, it's easy to go from there.
Yeah. Which is what makes Halloween, honestly, the original Halloween, such a great movie because Michael Myers is nothing more than evil incarnate. We don't need a reason of why he's evil. He's just evil.
Right.
Which is why I didn't like Rob Zombie's, Halloween.
Yeah, I
didn't try to explain it.
Yeah, I didn't hate Rob Zombie's remake, but that was a major flaw in that movie. Is they went from just this unexplainable, unstoppable force to there's a reason. He was abused. All that stuff. Yeah. So I agree. The idea of just a primal evil is just so much more powerful.
Jay, you're gonna say something.
Yeah, no, I was going to go back to, and I agree that like some of the classics, we talked about The Omen and Halloween with kids, but even current ones, like you think about like The Sixth Sense was a little more current, and that I was just going to capitalize and jump on that point that, there's a lot you can do with kids. I think you were bringing up the point that if it's done right, it's very effective. If not, it's heavy handed and it seems a little contrived. So we try to really strike that balance between, what are we doing here? And, is this going to be effective for us without being just over the top with it? We really we tried to keep in mind, what we were trying to make and what we were trying to accomplish. And I hopefully we did that.
Now, Jay, I recognized a couple of other names in the movie that share your last name.
Yes.
David Indiana.
Yes, David Indiana, yes. So that's my brother and his wife, my sister-in-law. So David Shapiro is an associate producer, and he's also Roman in the movie. And his wife plays his wife in the movie. And she really hasn't acted before. And that's kind of because we did try to find someone else. No offense to Deanna. Great, my sister-in-law. But it turned out that it worked out best for David and Deanna to work together. And David ended up getting an associate producer credit because he helped us tremendously with casting. Dave does a lot of acting in Milwaukee. He's a well-known theater actor. He's in a lot of commercials, some film work. So when we decided that we wanted to make this movie, we were decided to cast it. We had casting sessions in Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin. We thought we might have to go to Chicago or Minneapolis. It didn't happen. But Dave hooked us up with a theater called The Alchemist. And then he helped us with casting, and he brought some of the people he knew into the casting session. And good for him, we ended up casting a couple folks. Jeremy, who plays Claudio, who plays Jeremy. And then kind of the villain in the movie was one of my brother's, David's, former students. And so Monica, she ended up being the villain in the movie. So you do see a couple of names. And my other brother, Michael, so I have two brothers, so both are in. Michael Sapiro is a musician. So his band is called the Soft Rocks. And we have 4 songs in the movie. There are 2 from Abby Wolf and Her Claws. And there's 2 from the Soft Rocks. And my other brother, Michael, is the lead with the Soft Rocks.
Oh, cool. So what I was going to ask, is it hard working with family?
No, it's not that bad. We're a good family and a close family, but beyond that, we didn't have to spend a whole lot of time together.
Even better.
Even better. And Chris and Glenn both know my brothers, and Dave was on set for a little bit, and he was great to deal with. He got what he had to do, and he's my bigger brother, so I kind of want to give me a noogie every time we try to do a different take on something. But no, it wasn't bad. But I think when you talk about the collaboration and the partnership, it really was Jay, Glenn, and Chris. My family, my brothers, really did help out, and we appreciate that. But they were, they had very specific things that they were able to help us with, and that was that. But otherwise, the hardcore work and the 3 people, which you probably noticed with the credits, you see a lot of three names over and over, Chris Micklos, Glenn Chung, Jay Sapiro, over and over and over, because we didn't have a big budget. So we all had to wear a lot of hats.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, I noticed that there was a lot of like first time actors in this.
Yes.
Was that the way you were when you like, okay, we're going to do this. Let's go first timers instead of doing like vets, for lack of a better word. It's like with first timers, you guys can pretty much mold the actor to what you want and not have to deal with any of the hangups. Was that a conscious decision?
Well, there were a couple things at play there. First and foremost, that most of the cast, actually, with the exception, like Jay mentioned, Deanna, most of the cast had a lot of theater experience. There was a lot of theater actors in the cast, though none of them had much film experience. So you're absolutely right on that. But we basically we chose based on auditions and about getting the best people we could. We thought a little bit about going to try and get more established talent out of Chicago, we got audition tapes from people in LA and Nashville, out on the East Coast. But in the end, our shooting schedule was we had about 13 days of shooting over 6 weeks. And the makeup of the cast was such that so many of them were in so many scenes together. We needed we needed a lot of them together at the same time. So the idea of over 6 weeks flying people back and forth, our budget just didn't accommodate that. So we needed relatively local actors, and we got we thought the best we could, and they were terrific. Personally, I think they're a real strength of the film.
Yeah, and I'll just add, we didn't settle. It's not like we decided, okay, well, let's just go with this. They were really good. I mean, we were really surprised by the quality of the actors in the auditions. We spent a good amount of time trying to figure out the right mix, but the ones that we settled on, no offense to them, no offense to horror films. Sometimes, you can have some actors that aren't really terrific and still make a very good horror film. But these folks were very talented, and we hope we put them on the path to a career where they're doing a lot more film work.
No, I never meant to say that you settled. I just was curious.
No. Yeah.
I loved the idea of the movie. I liked it. I like all the acting in it.
Thank you.
It's got this creepy 70s atmosphere to it, which I love atmospheric films. That's why I love like a lot of the 70s stuff, because even the Suspiria, is all atmosphere. Yeah. If you look at that movie, I mean, the movie itself, the story is like, it's okay.
Right.
That's all atmosphere. It's all atmosphere and color and spectacle.
Right.
But I love that movie. I even though the story is just, okay, I've seen that. That's one of those movies I've seen more than 20 times, 30 times,
Well, we appreciate you saying that we've got that 70s vibe, because that's exactly what we were going for. Yeah. Again, we were talking a little bit before we went on the air. I grew up on those horror films, that were less. They were less tongue in cheek. They were less, winking at the camera. Those 70s and early 80s films were very straightforward, very gritty, very raw, and we wanted to feel like that. And so even the way we use color in the film, the way we the house that we used, was clearly built in the 70s, and we wanted to get that vibe and that feel as if we were making a film from that era, but with the use of technology and all the screens and that sort of thing, make it a very updated story set kind of almost out of time. And hopefully that's what we got to.
You know what kind of house there's two kinds of houses you never see in movies, right?
Yeah.
And especially like if they're trying to do like a 70s movie, you never see anyone use a split level.
All right, here's the challenge.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And those houses were huge in the 70s. The other thing is,
you're right. You're right.
You never see a single story house in a movie or TV show. They always have it upstairs or downstairs.
Oh, well, we did not break that. We all stayed downstairs.
Yeah.
In fact, that's the one real gaffe in the film. If like someone really pays attention, we originally were going to shoot somewhere else that had a second level, and at one point one of the actors says something like, "Oh, they won't be down for a while," or something like that. And didn't realize until later that that line survived 8 script drafts, and I was just mortified when I saw it in the final. But it goes so fast that you don't notice it. But that's the one real gaffe that we had.
Yeah, we took it as like down the hallway.
Yeah,
it is a long hallway. But yeah, that location was ideal because of the colors that are there. I mean, I don't know if you noticed in the film, but which is so rare. It's kind of a Frank Lloyd Wright style home. Yeah. But even the ceiling on that first floor, it's wood. And so we were thinking, we could have done a lot with that. But that cast this great amber tone. And then we had these shag carpets, so the audio was very good. And then we had, down in that basement area there, unbelievably, they had a beautiful red bar with like these stones that were laid in there. And then ultimately there was this storage room that had all kinds of stuff that ended up being absolutely ideal for what we had to do and kind of that claustrophobic feeling that we wanted to share with the viewers based on what's happening. It turned out to be just perfect. And so the little secret there is that's Glenn Chung, that's his parents, that's their house, and he grew up in that house. And so the nursery is Glenn's old bedroom. So we took it all apart. He had bunk beds still in that room, and Glenn is not a young man.
Not a young man.
And so we took out the bunk beds and we made it a nursery, and then we kind of reconfigured the rest of the space based upon pictures and things like that. We knew we couldn't have things that were copyright in the movie. And so it turned out to be just ideal based on the color scheme, the layout, the vibe of it. We really wanted, like you mentioned, that kind of 70s, 80s feel, even though we had current day technology. But if you just kind of look at it and you have the sound off and you kind of ignore some of the cell phone stuff, it should feel like this 80s movie, like a late night kind of film, like one of those fun horror flicks that, you just get the right feeling. As soon as you see it, you're like, oh, if that's a horror film, that's going to be kind of a fun one.
Yeah, the other thing that's nice about it is that it has a film look to it, not a digital look to it. I noticed that right away. I'm like, wow. It's got to be a filter or something that gives it that look, but it just looked so, looked like that celluloid.
No, we appreciate that. I mean, we spent a lot of time. We shot it digital. We did shoot it that way, but we certainly put a lot of effects on each one of those scenes. And Chris knows it well. We'd sit there and we would treat each scene and each shot in a different way. Those without getting too caught in the weeds and how you do it. But we did apply certain filters to each scene, and then each character had their own breakdown on how their levels were treated. So we really appreciate that you noticed that. That's pretty astute. But that was something we didn't want to be this cold kind of video looking thing. We wanted to be kind of this film style.
Yeah, you don't want to look too clean because then it misses out on the 70s, 80s look.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
So how long from intentional? I mean, well, it took 20 years to come up with to come up with the script. I mean, how long from the intentional first script to final cut?
So we probably had the first script done in the maybe June-ish, May, June of 2016.
Yeah.
And we finished the final cut about a year later. We probably June or July of last year. So really, the whole process took about a year.
Yeah,
from
that's
from everything.
Script. Yeah.
Wow, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And how long for shooting?
How many? 13 days? 13,
how long before shooting or of shooting?
No, how long shooting? The shooting schedule. How long?
Yeah, we had 13 days over about 6 weeks.
Oh, you beat Halloween.
But I don't even remember what was the schedule on Halloween.
18 days.
18 days. Look at that.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah, we were shooting mostly. We'd start mid-afternoon on Friday because some of our actors were students and other people worked. So we generally started mid-afternoon on Friday. We'd go till 1 or 2 in the morning. We'd pick it up again about 10 a.m. the next morning, and then we'd shoot till 1 or 2 the next morning. And then on Sunday we had a little bit shorter day because we tried to get everyone home by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So the weekends were pretty brutal on our actors. And the whole crew. But, I mean, that isn't such a bad thing for the performances either. You know, get him a little raw and a little, you know, worn down and gaunt, you know.
Had to drive him home, you know, half the time from Milwaukee to Madison. So yeah, that was, but we treated that it's not a super long time from script to final cut. And that's partly because, as Chris mentioned earlier, you know, we just decided to do this, the three of us, Glenn, Chris, Jay, and get it done. So we kind of treated it. We've owned a business for 20 years together, and we do make ads and videos and that. So we treated this project a little bit like a client, but almost like our favorite client. It's like we're
definitely our favorite client. No offense.
Yeah, no offense to our clients. But, you know, this we're going to get done, and we are going to shoot on these days. And even our crew, we've known them for years, and they've done films. They've done a lot of work. And they said, you guys are pretty organized. And that was just because we wanted to get it done. We made sure that we got every shot we needed on a certain day. And then we know we'd move into post-production. We didn't want to be one of those filmmakers that just either had a great concept, just never got to shooting, or got to shooting and thought, no, we're not going to get to editing, or the shooting went on forever and had to do 1,000, retakes of something. So we really try to be very, very hard-nosed about getting this all done the right way.
Well, so from what I understand, we have a trailer to show for this. Would either one of you want to introduce the trailer for the movie?
Jay, go ahead.
Well, I assume this is the one that there are a couple trailers out there, but this is probably the one that Uncorked Entertainment, our distribution firm, put together. Great trailer. And so this one kind of gives you a little bit of a hint at how this babysitter is heading out to the middle of nowhere and what she's kind of in for. And it leaves you with this feeling like, okay, she's in for a lot more than she bargained for.
Ranae.
You scared me.
Sorry about the wait. Come on in. Tanya just put the baby down, so you should have a pretty easy night.
And there's a monitor here on the tablet.
We should get going, honey.
Something's going on in this house. I'm seeing things.
You can't have him!
So that was a trailer for The Nursery, which, again, awesome movie. I'm glad you guys made it. I'm kind of curious. I mean, you guys made this movie because you've always wanted to make a movie, but now that you've done it, do you have do you want to make another horror film? Do you want to make a Western? Is there something else down the pipe, you know?
No, absolutely. We wanted to do it to get to just say we did this. We achieved this lifelong ambition, and then once you're doing it and you realize you can do it, it's like, oh, it's time to make more. So we founded our own a production company called Three Tortured Minds, which is actually the banner under which the Nursery is going to come out. We're starting to work on our second film now. We're in development on another horror thriller, and we're hoping to be shooting this summer, actually.
Yeah, that's cool. I've started so many scripts, honestly. I've got like 3 scripts that are started that I need to finish. I would love to make. One's a zombie film, and a couple of others are like supernatural type stuff. You know,
literally, as we said before, we've been talking about this for 20 years. We've had starts. We started a comedy, or we started working on a script. We started a documentary where we got kind of far down the road, and nothing just really lit our fuse like this one. And finally, again, we're just getting to that point where we're like, well, what are we going to make a horror movie when we're 65, 70? Let's do it now. Let's see what happens. And, it's the best thing I've ever done. I mean, it made me so happy to kind of be part now of the horror film genre, and for us to do it together, it was a great thing. It was a great thing.
I agree. That's
comedy
the best thing Chris has never done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comedy to me would be like the hardest one to do because, I mean, comedy is unlike horror because, you can have slashers, you can have monster movies, no matter what time of the year it is. But with comedy, it's so evolving all the time. We went from Buster Keaton to Stan and Laurel to Abbott and Costello, Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis. Nowadays you get up here and it's just kind of like we got Amy Schumer, and I mean, it's nice and all, but I mean, comedy would be like the hardest thing to write because if those jokes don't fly, let's say you make a reference to an Abbott and Costello thing. The people nowadays, they probably won't get it.
Who's going to get it? Yeah. We talked about making a comedy and other types of films, but you're right. Those are more difficult and the passion is there for the horror and also the audience is there and we had a path, but yeah, comedy is not easy.
Yeah, to me, horror comedy is the holy grail of filmmaking. I love horror movies, but I just have a special spot in my heart for horror comedies. And but I got to get a lot better. We got to get a lot better at what we're doing before we can try and pull that off.
What about you, Jay? What's the one movie you'd like to make?
I'm a big fan of documentaries. I enjoy what we're doing. I love what we're doing. But I think at some point that documentary might be in the future.
You guys are from Wisconsin.
We are from Wisconsin.
Plenty of horror. I know. Here we go.
At Gein.
Gein, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jeffrey Dahmer,
right there.
Ed Gein.
You go Dahmer too. Yeah, Chris just said yes.
Yeah,
Dahmer,
we don't. We're not short on serial killers here in Wisconsin.
We can find it,
Dude, I'm from Washington State, so we've got Bundy and we've got the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway. And Manson spent a little bit of time up here on McNeil Island, so.
So there's a little of everything.
Yeah,
nice.
So states with the letter W in it.
Yeah,
exactly. Right.
There you go. There's the concept. You just can't.
Yeah. Look out, West Virginia. You're next.
Well, they do have the movie. What was that? Wrong Turn.
Yes, right. Good for you. See, I'm not going toe to toe with you. To hell with that.
Winner.
So, guys, I got to wrap it up so we get started for the live show. If people are looking for you on the internet, where can they find you, Jay?
You can find us on our Facebook page. That's where they'll find me. That's where they'll find the movie. And Chris, what is it? The Nursery Movie at Facebook?
Facebook.com/The Nursery Movie. We're also, we have a webpage at thenurserymovie.com. And those are the two best places to get us. We have a Twitter handle and stuff, but we're not as good at that. So just stick with the Facebook page.
You can find us on Instagram too,
Okay.
but Facebook's the way to go.
Okay. All right. So I want to thank you guys again for coming on. So for Chris and Jay, I'm the 13th Wolfman. And of course, I'm on the prowl.
Thanks a lot, Wolfman.
Thank you.